Because of I-79. They were building I-79.
Jen.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's happening.
I'm not doing it. I didn't do the film. Yeah, I had something. Yeah, I intend
I left my glasses. I guess I can see.
but. No, see, that's my brand. No, I'm not. I'm going to. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want
Hey Brad, that's Jim Works right there behind you. You should introduce yourself.
Yeah. Speech Brad.
Hopefully Jim will be sitting in this seat.
Good for you.
I'm sure he'll
Respond
be
me
with
as
his
slow
number
as I
too.
am.
You guys know each other, right?
A little bit, a little bit.
Okay, I'd like to call today's Pleasant Ridge Manor Board of Trustees meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bale?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Here.
Mr. Drexel?
Here.
Mr. Horton?
Here,
Mr. Showerman? Here. Mr. Winarski? Chairman Scatella?
Here. Hearing of the public. Is there anybody viewing that wants to speak? New business, direction of the energy broker.
So what had transpired was that I had been asked by Mr. Davis to supply the energy information that we had our energy brokers, the energy contracts and everything for an audit, which we did, and came back and found that we had paid tax on Penlick. I discussed this at our last meeting, but we've gone back now and rectified that. We can go back to 3 years. And we rectified that. And then as I spoke at our last meeting, then we were directed to use a broker. And then at that point, we had some talk and the board had some issue with that, being directed to use a broker. So that's our first subject, is what broker am I to use after that direction? Normally, for energy brokers, there's two types of letters. There's a letter of exclusivity in which you give that broker exclusive rights to broker your energy. Or there's also another letter, a letter of authorization, which would give that person not exclusive rights, but authorization to broker on your behalf. Usually if there's an issue and we want to open it up for different brokers, we would issue letters of authorization. And then we would have multiple brokers go out and see who could get the best price. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board because I was told to put everything on hold before the board meeting today.
Just a couple questions. On this issue with we're paying taxes that we shouldn't have paid, correct?
Correct. And that's
We petitioned for refund, correct?
Yes,
And I don't know if we got it yet, but you know, state,
not yet.
a slow,
All the paperwork's been
how slow
submitted.
this taken. What was that figure?
About
Ballpark.
14,000.
It was just 14,000. We got that, or we'll be getting that.
So I'm taking it, we didn't have a broker at that time.
We do,
Oh, we did.
yes, we have
And
a
they
current
just-
broker.
They just missed it.
Well, that's more, I don't want to, it's more of a Pleasant Ridge Manor issue that we had, that we missed it. More than I think a broker would. could have caught it also, but it was an error on our end.
So on that issue, we're clean now. We know we're looking forward to what we see. Now, supposing, what does a broker do?
So he goes out and contacts energy sources to get the best price for us. They're like a third-party administrator. And then they come back and then they usually lock in that price for 1 to 3 years. That's how it normally works. And we get that price for that, which is normally below market value.
And then we pay him a fee. Or
He
that
gets a,
broker-
right, he gets a fee off of the other
The
end.
other end,
Oh, the
we
other,
don't pay anything.
Yeah, we don't pay them. They make it from the energy company.
so may I ask why you want a different broker? Is that fair?
Well, I mean, obviously, so this particular broker did very well with all the county properties. I mean, saved potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I think when you have a broker that misses something as simple as sales tax, I mean, this broker didn't have our information for a couple hours a day maybe, and came back and immediately said, hey, you're paying taxes. I mean, that's on one utility. If you're gonna miss something that simple and we're not hearing anything from our energy broker, we hear from these guys every single week since we've contracted with them. It's a lot more complicated than the simple fact that energy is a commodity. So I mean, you don't want to be subject to the ebbs and flows of, I mean, it's like your 401k. I mean, it's subject to the market. You want to lock in that rate. So I mean, part of what Brad's saying is true, but the authorization, you can only deal with one broker at a time. It doesn't let you, shop, say Charlie's got a firm, Chris has got a firm. You have to authorize one agent. They go out and do it, and then you can contract if you want to lock in that service. Like you can't go out and shop 3 cars at the same time. You got to do it one at a time. I mean, just looking at historically the service, I don't know if the broker was the same, but just not having that feedback. And I'll tell you, I mean, look at everything that Governor Shapiro is doing right now with PJM. I mean, the electric increases are gonna absolutely cripple places. I mean, even the average homeowner, if we're not careful. So I mean, having a broker that really understands the market and how you can be strategic, lock in your prices, is constantly watching that market for the ability for us to move down that ladder and lock it in, that's key. I mean, I don't see how there's any objection to saving money. But to me, at first glance, if you're missing something as simple as paying sales tax that everybody knows government's exempt from, especially a nonprofit, I mean, that's a pretty easy error to
Mr.
catch.
Chairman, can I just add something to that I think is important? They went back 3 years and got the sales tax back because that's the look back period. It had been going on for many years. Anything prior to those 3 years
Gone.
lost money, which is a lot.
And
of
I'm
money.
well aware that I did that for 35
It's a lot
years.
of
with
money.
Park Rec.
Gone.
Mr. Horton,
Thank you. Very appreciative anytime the county is able to realize money back into our coffers. 14,000 over 3 years. Although it may seem like a bigger amount, I'm still very much appreciative. I was on that meeting and I asked Director Donor to just put everything, just stop doing it. And I appreciate County Executive Davis's explanation or conversation on it. It's basically no different than you getting a provider for your home, someone else too. You can do the same thing at your house. People come in and they shall raise. But that aside, I asked him to stop because I didn't feel that we should be doing, he should be doing stuff unilaterally without this board knowing about. And I asked Attorney Joseph and Attorney Talarico to render an opinion on that. And I believe that I'm right in that, yes, they do contracts, but all of that stuff should come before the board. And I don't think that that's happening. And that's problematic. And so that's my only thing about it. We've certainly done energy saving things here at the county before. So that I'm never adverse to that. But I am adverse to this body not only are we county council, we're the board. We're actually the board of Pleasant Ridge Manor. And that actually means something. And in this case, it didn't. And so I'd like to hear from our attorney. And indeed, Attorney Joseph as well.
I suppose I'll begin, if I may. Under the bylaws of Pleasant Ridge Manor, Article 3, Section 3, as Mr. Horton has said, the Board of Trustees holds and exercises all the power with regard to the manor. Among those powers are, and this is in the bylaws, quote, to review and approve all contracts. Pursuant to Article Roman numeral 4, Section 5, Paragraph C, the president of Pleasant Ridge Manor is responsible for the application of policy as developed by the board. And the president, just for the purposes of the bylaws, is the county executive, and county council is the board of trustees. I looked at the administrative code for Erie County, and of course, there's a provision in the administrative code for Pleasant Ridge Manor, and it provides that the Board of Trustees is responsible for the establishment of policy and the appropriation of funds within the center. The president of the manor is then responsible for the application of that policy as developed by the board. That's in the administrative code, Article 2, Section 5, Paragraph D. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's on page 119. My opinion, based upon a review of the bylaws of the administrative code, that if we're going to enter into a contract with an energy broker, that's a contract that needs to be approved by the board.
May I just add before I yield? Because we're talking about item 1 now, but I might add that the same application would be for item 2 as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Horton that my opinion would be the same with regard to item 1 or item 2.
Yeah, I just want to address the same, that what we're principally talking about is the authority to direct the activities of Mr. Donor to do any one thing or another. An end around of the board, or even at times an end around of Mr. Donor himself, direct communications with other employees throughout Pleasant Ridge, which I think would be improper. And that's to have a conversation with us about whether or not we want to have a contract, consultant or an energy broker, I think is one thing. But to direct those activities outside of this meeting, I think is really improper.
Mr. Chair. I reviewed the bylaws as well, and I'm familiar with this issue from past administrations. But the practical interpretation of the bylaws in conjunction with the administrative code contemplates either the county executive or the executive director or both reporting to the board about issues that are relevant to Pleasant Ridge Manor. For example, if there is a question that the executive may have about the quality and competency of a particular contractor, they should come before the board and say, look, we have an issue here. We think that we should put this contract out to bid. This is why we're critical of them. And then the board could weigh in and suggest, what to do, whether to get a new contract or whether to put it out to bid and things like that. That's how it's contemplated, or it's supposed to work. And this only has to do with contracts and things like that.
So our issue is nobody came to the board. We had a broker already hired, correct? And somebody wants to change it to a different broker. So the proper way to do it is bring it to the board and go from there.
Well, that's your prerogative. I mean, I don't think there's any debate that this board of trustees is inherently and entirely responsible for Pleasant Ridge, including the $13.5 million of debt, which is why the administration, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to hire the consultant, that's your business. If you don't want to hire the energy consultant, despite the fact I think they're very confident in the fact that they caught these issues, we're just offering to help because obviously this is a large albatross to the county. I mean, period, point blank. I mean, without addressing this head on, losing money like we are, we need to take all avenues. And I think bringing in a professional consultant like, excuse me, CHR, that's turned around other county facilities, like Berks County.
Point of order.
Mr. Word,
I think we're still on item 1. We're not on CHR at this point. And I might add that this discussion has changed and the discourse isn't about whether we hire a consultant or not. It's about the overreach of the county executives in usurping this body's authority. And it's not the first time. I mean, we had to ask him to relinquish the gavel and observe the bylaws and administrative code that we already have a chair. And I don't think this is by happenstance. Sadly, after 4 years, we're still having those type of conversations. So we're not only having them about our budget and county government, but we're having them, the conversations about overreach here at this body as well. And it shouldn't be because it's really just a conversation. You want to do something, it's not rock, just bring it before the board, but you do not unilaterally have the authority or the right to enter into any of that stuff without bringing it before the board. And that's my issue. Not about whether we, in fact, go to a contract with someone or not. The bigger issue is the overreach, and that's going to always be problematic.
Mr. Chair, to follow up once again, the issue is just bringing it to the attention of the board. The administration, the county executive and the executive director could agree on changing brokers and could agree on the same broker. That's fine. But both of them would be responsible for either one of them. If there's an agreement to come before council and say, look, we're having a problem, this is what we'd like to do. It's just that simple.
That's all.
I don't think there's any disagreement with any of that. I mean, you look at the purchasing code, and obviously the fact that we had
Mr. Chair.
to involve a solicitor, I mean,
hold
that's
on,
the key.
hold on.
It is astounding, the duplicity of what you're saying. That you agree with us that you're supposed to bring these policy changes to us. And yet just a week ago, we're sending direct orders to the director. So today you agree with us, but last week you didn't? I mean, that is like such a double-faced statement. You agree that you're supposed to bring it to us?
I think we just heard it. You heard the same thing that I heard.
So
It's
why did
easy
you
to
already
do
direct him to take these actions? If not for Mr. Donor bringing it to our attention for us to review, we would never have been known. We would never have known.
Well, it's clear that there's a lot of things that you don't know. But the irony is, as the president of this board, I mean, it seems to me there's still confusion as to what the role of the county executive is and the president is. So it's clear, if you're taking complete and full culpability and responsibility of the finances, I'm good with that. But again, I'm here to represent the taxpayer, not only as the president of the board, but I'm also ultimately I supervise day to day. I mean, it's very clear what our solicitor said. I mean, the day-to-day, and the thing about this, even looking at the purchasing code, there is no value of that contract. And even to what Attorney Talarico is saying, if Brad and I agree on this, hey, this is a good move, okay, bring it to the board. Nothing's been fully executed anyhow. So, I mean, really, there's no harm, there's no fault. There's none of this. But again, it goes back to the financial condition, the fact and reality of where we are. I'm here to represent the taxpayer. I have a fiduciary responsibility. That's what I'm doing. If you want the help, take it. If you don't, here's the shovel, keep digging.
Yeah, we want the help, county executive, and we want to see it more than rhetorical. And we suspect that we'll see that help in a few days when you hand us the total budget for the county on October 1st. Yeah, we do want the help. And I'm hoping that we get some resolution to the 23, 24. Since you talk about help, I'm hoping that we could at least get some cooperation, much less help, as we go down what's going to almost assuredly be a contentious budget, because
Point of order,
based
we're
on-
not talking about the budget, we're talking about
That's
Pleasant
fair.
Ridge. So
That's
let's
fair.
keep it to the agenda and let's keep it
All right, gentlemen,
stay on
please.
track.
So number one, it's easily solved, but you think we need a broker, bring it to the board.
Let's say the board's aware now, and we're here.
We're-
Mr.
And we,
Chair,
and we have the contract. I mean, I don't care who signs it.
I would make a motion to approve the services of Energy Broker. I think
Second,
I would like to see the contract before you do any, I think it's ludicrous to be even making such a suggestion without having seen the contract. Have our attorney seen the
I was gonna say,
contract?
Mr. Joseph, have you seen it?
I have not. I
That's
have
fair.
not,
Motion
and it sets a bad precedent. The bylaws do not contemplate an email or a phone call or a shout out that we're doing something. The Board of Trustees has to be educated as to why we would change. And we have to see the contract and the cost and involved and whether it's an appropriate move.
That's fair. Motion control.
Can we get that to both attorneys today? The
I
contract,
would
can we get
think,
that to
I
both
would think
attorneys?
Attorney Talarico's point, I think you would all venture to be of some benefit to just meet with the consultant yourself. I mean, I have no vested interest other than the fact he's saving us an incredible amount of money. So I mean, do your due diligence.
We just want to see the contract and have our attorney do the contract. And if you guys agree on it and the contract is
It's no
not a big
cost.
deal, not a big deal. The bigger deal, like I said, is that you continue not to bring that stuff before the board. And that's gonna always be problematic, and it doesn't have to be.
So you have the contract.
I do not.
Who has the contract? Or nothing was ever drawn up?
So there is a contract. I mean, I just don't know if it's been signed or what.
How could
And I
it be
guess that's
signed if it
realistic,
hasn't
right? That's
come
my
before
point.
us?
I mean, that's kind of why we're at this point. I think there's a little contentious nature behind the fact that it hasn't been fully executed. So if it needs to be
It can't
addressed
be,
to the president of
it
the
can't
board,
be
the
fully
chair.
executed if our attorneys haven't even seen it.
Can we
With all
get it? Can
respectfully.
we get the contract?
I'll get the contract. I'll have the consultant email the contract to Karen or all the members, whoever.
But respectfully, could you just have them send it to our attorney?
Attorney
And
Talarico.
Attorney Joseph, and then we'll get it from Ms. Chilcott to the rest of the board. But our attorneys need to see it right now.
Mrs. Shower.
I have a question. Is the company that missed this for numerous years, are they still doing any work, other work for the county?
For the county or for Pleasant Ridge?
For the, anywhere for the
You
county?
can only have one broker at a time, so it's kind of like a mortgage. One bank holds your mortgage, I mean, once you switch, that's it.
So they were the ones that were switched out in Crystalline Energy.
It was probably very similar to the way it was here at the county. We had a broker, but they were person non grata. They weren't found anywhere. So I mean, yes, once you sign a letter of authorization, that gives them the ability to look at your utility bills, look at all the things, which is why we had Brad send all the utility stuff, because we have all that. So they can look at it and find whatever errors there are and then have follow-on questions. You sign that letter of authorization, that allows them to work directly with the utilities as opposed to having our staff pull it. And then once they're assigned as your broker, they can represent us in the market. They'll go out and say they'll pull 12 different companies and find out who's rate, look at the transmission, look at the distribution rates, look at the kilowatt hours or capacities and all the different things and factor in what the best deal is.
Right, but as far as my question, no, they're not doing anything.
As far as Pleasant Ridge goes, that's the only thing they have.
Okay.
I guess
We have a different broker we have one for natural gas and one
Yep.
for electric. And the one that's coming up is the one we need to discuss because they need at least a month's worth of time to
Yep.
go out and find That's why there's a time frame on this, that we need to settle on some type of broker so they can go out on our behalf. But to answer your question, as far as Pleasant Ridge goes, that's the only one they have.
Right, so our previous contract is coming up and we were already going to be looking for a broker, which is why
Which
this
is why
is,
the window.
so we already knew that we needed a broker. We knew we needed to either renew a contract or we needed to find a new broker. Correct.
I understand better now.
Okay, so we have number one. We know we're gonna do it.
I think that's a solid plan.
Number two, the direction for CHR consultant. This is the one that,
Is there a contract for that as well? And if so, could we just have the same action?
So we can, I mean, I guess the question is, we want to bring before the board, are we gonna pay for that
oh,
through Pleasant Ridge, or are we
That's-
paying for it as a representative of county government?
that's
I mean, there's
25,000.
two different ways, you know, if we gotta cover the county budget, I can enter into the contract if you wanna pay for it. And obviously with the
Pleasant Ridge
state,
issue, and I think it would come out of Pleasant Ridge's budget. I don't think that we want to get apples and oranges at this point, but thank you for offering that.
Too cold.
One of the reasons why I was so ready to make a motion to approve the energy broker, I think, is it's minimal. There's not a lot to it. What bothers me is trying to take unilateral action outside of the board. The consulting firm, I take far more offense to, because we've heard from CHR Consulting, as Showerman had a presentation that we all listened to. We've talked about it a great deal. I believe the board made it pretty clear in our conversation, the majority was not interested in pursuing consulting work with a firm that has a profit incentive to make the suggestion that they can take over HR and save us money. They can take over finance and save us money. They can take over purchasing and save us money. And before you know it, CHR effectively runs the institution. That is not a road I have any interest whatsoever in going down. It is a step towards privatization, plain and simple. And you can say, we don't have to accept their suggestions. I don't see much point in paying $25,000 to just reject their recommendations. I think it says something really wrong towards our belief in Mr. Donor and his ability to run the facility. That we need to bring in an outside consultant because we don't trust that he's running the facility to the best of his ability, to the best outcomes. Like, I'm really bothered by that message. Very bothered. If we didn't feel that we were doing a good job there, we should pursue new leadership. Plain and simple.
Mr. Bale.
Well, I think we just underscored the need in the first item. And we heard from Mr. Donor, unfortunately, that he believes it was a Pleasant Ridge problem more than it was even the broker's problem. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that. The broker, somebody should have caught it. But you're talking about a $14,000 error in 3 years. And if that's gone on for who knows how many years, I mean, can we go back and do some historical digging to see how long we've been paying taxes? Could be 10 years, 15, 20 years. So there is, I'm not questioning, I think Brad's a great guy and I think that he does very well, but that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some sort of level of outside eyes to view all these policies, procedures. This is, I mean, it makes the case. There's $14,000 in one instance. Hopefully there's nothing else, but if there is, we owe that to the taxpayers to find every single bit of those $14,000. And we're not paying 25 because we just got 14 back. And that's a pittance to pay in what our budget is. I mean, to have, and look, they may come in and say, look, Brad and his staff is doing the best that they can do. There's nothing we can improve. there's just nothing. It is what it is, and this is how the facility has been run. This is how it's going to continue to run, and we can't help you. And yeah, they take the $25,000, again, 14 of which we had, and we say, well, then we gotta figure out something else, because taxpayers are not going to be able to sustain what's going on at Pleasant Ridge. They shouldn't be asked to without being properly represented, and they're not.
Mr. Drexel,
I just think that we should make sure that we properly fund them in the budget every year, so we don't put them at a disadvantage out of the gate, which seems to be happening. Last year, we gave them 25% of the money that they requested initially. So if we could work together, as you're looking for us to work together more in this budget process, I think we can maybe achieve better results for 2026.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Horton,
and if it's a $25,000 appropriation, I believe our purchasing code says that it should be out for bid. So I don't think that there should be unilateral, it just.
It's actually 23 something, I think, was the negotiated price. It's under 25.
I think that we would still be wise to check for other vendors and not just whether it's 23 or 25. I don't think that, I think wisdom is always get more than one estimate.
Mr. Chairman, how much have we already, again, what is the total of the amount that we've already forgiven to Pleasant Ridge? Because with the tranche of American Rescue Funds, wasn't there a significant amount that was already forgiven?
I think that we're talking about item 2 on the agenda, so I won't bore you with a point of order.
I think
But I think we should just keep to the agenda as you.
Well, we were talking about the budget.
we could do
so
that in number 3.
I'll save it for 3.
Just a question. So you hire a consultant, I think you, just because you have contact with them. So they come in and say, you need somebody else to take over HR. That does not preclude that we have to do that. That is up to us.
That's correct.
I don't think it hurts to look at something to save money.
I don't either.
But
What,
what Audrey says, I agree with that. Let's look at more than one.
Well, and my principal concern is that this firm has a profit incentive to not just consult, but to administrate. That is, I do not believe that we are going to get impartial, unbiased opinions by people who's motivated because that's part of their business model. They run nursing homes, right? Bring me a consultant that doesn't have that incentive. I mean, Brad, I've talked many times about we should be looking for opportunities to save money. We should be looking for ways to be more efficient. We should be holding roundtables with similar institutions to talk about their best practices. That would be free.
I
We
think the
should be-
majority of them have sold their nursing homes, which is why we should be looking at ways to save ours.
And in fairness, those roundtables have already occurred. They occurred at CCAP ultimately a long time ago. Ellen and I were both there, and these folks, out of all the other ones that went severely in the red to being on the other side, I mean, take Berks County. I mean, I think they're 1.2 million positive. I think they were 7 million-ish in the hole every year. So I mean, we're just going off the recommendations of the best track record of these folks that are familiar, 1, with county homes. 2, I mean, if you want to look at 5 other ones, that's your prerogative. It makes not a bit of difference to me, but the reason we have all 3 of these items here all comes back to the budget. I can't in good conscience give any money, to Mr. Drexel's point, to this institution in the budget unless I know we're doing all recourses, all avenues, and taking all countermeasures to find out that we're doing our taxpayer investments justice. And I mean, and these are the tools that we need. We already found some errors, to Charlie's point. How long has that gone on? We don't know. That's water under the bridge. There's nothing we can do. But I mean, there's a lot of different strategies that Berks County, and Brad and I have had this conversation. Maybe it's entering into a different business model of sorts. Our census is a little over half We've got a lot of room to do a lot of different things to bring in revenue to help these folks out. We're just not doing it. So I mean, these folks, I don't care who you bring in as a consultant, if they're qualified, they're in the business, and they can help us get a heck of a lot closer to the black. But at the end of this year, we miss a $5 million IGA, we're closer to $20 million. We can't forgive $20 million. So I mean, that's the whole point. All these things are interlinked. It makes not a bit of difference to me what you do. If you want to find your own broker, find your own broker. I'm just saying, we need to do something and we need some outside help.
I can't let that $13 million number go. This is compounded over multiple years of Pleasant Ridge requesting reconciliation. Correct? And without any response, without any action on the part of the executive's office.
Left pocket,
whatsoever.
right pocket, it's still the same pair of pants.
And you're exactly right, because we have that debt on the back end of a financial year of Pleasant Ridge because we never funded them on the front end. I mean,
And that's.
they
the whole
strangle
point.
somebody and blame them for choking to death. Like,
Well, it's not even a rational. The whole point of this meeting that we have is because we do things goofy with this IGA transfer. We hear 1,000 times over, it should be in the budget.
It should.
Why is this IGA transfer not in the budget? And then the taxpayers wonder, why do we have to raise taxes in 2022 to do a $9 million bailout plus the ARPA funds? We can't explain it because it's not in the budget. And we talked about this year. This will be in the budget. It has to be in the budget moving forward. You can't operate on a shadow government here in paper.
Let's settle number 2 on the consultant. Do you want to bring in 3 different consultants to look at it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's wise. And I think that there's other ways to look at this without somebody having a false profit.
And I think the other issue that we're gonna have, if you wanna look at 3, I mean, 1, CHR is already in the pipeline to start the first week of October. This is information that we need in order for consideration in the budget. We can't in good conscience, without having a set of eyes, working through this budget this year, looking the way things are, to not have this information. I mean, we can stall, but is all you're doing is not giving us the information, the intelligence we need to make an intelligent investment in this budget.
They would be coming after you bring out your proposed budget. I'm confused. You want to.
But either way, the budget process is still ongoing, is my point.
This consultant fee isn't going to impact the budget. $600 million plus, I don't know what you're gonna submit, but certainly $25,000. Sit here and have the discussion with you over it. I just simply wanted to know. Brad, how long you been director? Has it been 3 years?
Yeah, 3, 4 and 4.
Mhm. Yeah, I just want to highlight that, since we were doing historical data on what could have occurred and what should have occurred and what's under the bridge and what's current. I don't want to sit here and have a discussion on anyone's performance. I don't think that's proper. But I think that we could probably wrap up item 2 and move to item 3. We do have our business to take care of.
I would just like to say something real quick. I don't think this has anything at all to do with Brad's job and how he's doing. It costs a certain amount of money to run it every year, and regardless of what's in the budget or what isn't in the budget, it still costs the same amount of money. And it is our responsibility to look at it and to see if there's a better way of doing anything. It doesn't mean that a company's going to overtake Pleasant Ridge. It just means we're going to look at what they have to say and make a decision on part of it or all of it or whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to be taking over.
Well, they can't take it over
No,
without
it
us.
would that's
Well, I'm not
exactly right.
opposed to looking at anything. I think that whatever we do, it's very important that it be done decency and in order, and that clearly hasn't been the case historically.
Mr.
It
Tillman.
should be done transparently.
Okay, this issue is no different than the first issue. The Board of Trustees at this point in time is not intelligent enough because it hasn't been provided with the information necessary to make a decision. The first question is whether a consultant is even necessary. And the second one is, if it is, who's that going to be? And the only way that the administration can get smart about this, council could get smart about this, is if either the executive director or the president provide the contracts, the information, the background to persuade the Board of Trustees that a consultant is needed. And that has to happen first. It should happen first.
And that was my only point of contention. I'm certainly not opposed to looking at how to save money. But it will always be, again, it will always be problematic. It should always be problematic, not just with me, but with this board in its entirety. When things aren't done as prescribed in the home rule charter, and certainly in the Pleasant Ridge Manor bylaws. And I will always stand on that.
We have one consultant. Is there another one out there?
I'm sure there are multiple consultants that would come
Can you,
look at the facility.
can you two gentlemen get together and try to find one to bring in front of us? Or
Just
get a
one out of the
contract?
three.
You know, I guess we're under a time constraint because of the budget.
I don't think you're gonna find one at this price or the price.
Well, I guess the county's operations department would make that determination whether not a bid, but some other policies should be used to pick one. And if there's only one, and there aren't any, then make
No,
that
I'm sure
recommendation.
I'm sure there's more.
But an RFP should probably, I mean, the Pleasant Ridge Manor is obliged to follow the administrative code. If there's nothing in its own bylaws. And if it wants to hire a contractor, the best thing to do is issue an RFP. And if it turns out, as often it does, that there is only one provider, well, then that's fine.
That's only if it's over 25,000. And this is, herein lies the crux of all this. I mean, you have the purchasing code, you have the administrative code, you have the HRC, you have the Pleasant Ridge bylaws. I mean, that's why we have Attorney Joseph to decipher through all this. Let's be clear, the first two, we entered into no different than any other purchasing code. We followed the purchasing code for contracts. There's no inherent cost in the first. The direction for CHR consulting, it's under 25,000. That doesn't go out to RFP.
Well, that would be
regardless.
different. If it's under.
It's under 25. The price came in like 22. So I mean, you could you don't want me to sign it? Let's give you guys both contracts. It makes not a bit of difference to me.
Can we
Sign
just
it
say
or what?
directly that you all should bring whatever you're doing before this body? I mean, that's to argue about the semantics of it. Just bring it before the body as prescribed by law.
Just one more thing I want to add. From working at the hospital for as long as I did, we went through this process every so many years, had a consultant come in and review everything. And it usually always helped save a lot of money without causing problems. And we were used to it because we went through it every so many years.
Just bring it before the board.
If I may, Mr.
We're gonna go to next.
If I may, Mr. Scatella, I think you're correct. That, I think the process has to be for Mr. Donor as the executive director, Mr. Davis as the president, to bring the consultant to you. And if that's under 25,000 and it meets the terms of the purchasing code, I think they can do that and bring that to you. And I would encourage both of them to get the contract to me for review, so I can make my recommendation to you on that contract as well. And then I think we can vote on it. I think the larger question for you to decide today is, are we going to direct Donor or Mr. Davis to bring a consultant for you, or aren't you interested in that? I think that's the decision you kind of have to make.
I don't think we have a choice.
I think what's confusing in all of this, the fact is you have very clear purchasing codes of the county. So if you need to bring anything, so now you're talking something that's clearly under county law, it does not require a vote in order for it to be effectively enacted, whether by myself or by Brad. We make purchases at Pleasant Ridge every single day that don't come before this board that follow the purchasing code. So why on earth would you bring a contract less than 25,000 before this board for approval? That's the case in point of what we're doing with the energy broker that's at no cost. It's literally zero cost. Their costs are recovered on the back end, and CHR Consulting is under 25,000. There shouldn't be any approval by the board under the purchasing.
I disagree, because there are multiple things wrong with what he said. And what's wrong with it is whether it's a $23,000 or a $25,000 contract, it comes here. It comes here. It should come here under the law. And so, and we're not pushing back. I'm certainly not trying to withhold anything. I just, in light of where we are historically over the last 4 years, I think it's just, again, it's very important that we follow process.
So what about the
And
water
so if it's not
contract?
and so any contract, he read the thing for you, gave you the statute. I won't ask him to do it again. But I believe that it didn't say some, it didn't say a few, it said contracts should be brought before this body.
So look at the water contract. We just switched water providers for bottled water not long ago. I mean, do you really want to see the pet? I mean, to me, that, I think that enters into day-to-day operations that are clearly defined under bylaws as the president, just like it is everywhere else in county government. I mean, at what point does the president have, if you don't have a vote, you don't approve contracts, you don't oversee people, and this is entirely your entity to do with whatever you want to do, then where does the taxpayer have checks and balances and oversight?
The president has the right, responsibility, and scope of work of bringing that stuff before the body.
But my point is,
either
we
through
just have
Mr.
water contracts and
Either
day-to-day
through
stuff.
Mr. Donor or
It's
through
under
another
25,000
representative
that aren't
from your
approved.
office, it should be brought here.
So you're saying every single contract for a single roll of
I didn't
toilet paper
say-
needs a count? That's what you
My
said.
law said,
All is very
Time out.
clear.
Hold up,
Bylaw said-
gentlemen. Mr.
My principal objection is that this board had considered CHR Consulting prior. We talked about it, we said no. Then you went around us to say, we've engaged in a contract with them, comply with them. After this issue had already been on our agenda, we had already said no.
When that's
And you don't
fine.
like that, you don't like
That has
no.
nothing to do with it, but here's me, there's 13.5 million reasons why this needs to be done. Whether we do it through the board and you do it, or I exercise my powers as the county executive to look into any matter under the county executive, which is why I'm here very clearly on whether Pleasant Ridge is gonna take accountability and you're gonna pay for it, or I'm gonna take it out of the county budget and still exercise this authority.
Excuse me.
Either way, it needs to be done, because at the end of this year, you're looking at $20 million debt if this payment isn't made. That you are ultimately, you've already taken complete culpability and responsibility for.
Mr. Bill,
Attorney Joseph, just so for transparency and history, has this been a practice? Because I haven't seen this in the time that I've been here. How often have contracts for day-to-day operations, food services, whatever, any of those functions, how many times have those been brought before the board prior to this? Under 25,000.
Under 25,000, I'd probably have to say none.
So is the problem really that we're trying to make sure that we're doing everything as a board, or are we trying to, once again, change the goalpost, change what we do because of the person that's bringing it forward? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing it, because you just heard it over all these years. It's never been done, but now it needs to be done.
I think if something was brought before the board with intention already, because we are policy.
I'm just saying, why has it never been done? I can tell you why. Because the way the government has worked in the county for the last how many decades, there hasn't been any sort of friction pretty much between, there's been a little, but very little. So things could get they just went on the way they were done, and that's the way we've always done it. So, but now, because some questions have been asked, and now because there are some different remedies being offered. It's not about those, it's about who's bringing them forward. That's completely unfair.
I fully reject that.
You just
And I-
gave me the-
I've explained
third-
my position as to why I do not like this consultant in particular, because of what I consider to be a perverse profit incentive.
And that's fine. I mean, you're one member of the board, but the reality is that the executive or president of the board has the ability to control day-to-day operations and direct the people they run under. That's everywhere in county government, correct?
I'll speak to Pleasant Ridge.
Well, I guess that's what I'm
Like,
asking in this case. I mean, and if there's some disparities, which we all know there are between county government and the bylaws established in Pleasant Ridge, because they're two totally different animals. If that's a misstatement, we need to clarify, which is why we're here and why this is on the
But
agenda.
one of the things that I did want to say, and I think Mr. Copeland is correct here in the context that, because I heard him say the word policy. And as I read earlier in the bylaws, this board establishes the policies. So when we talk about contracts, we talk about whether we're buying bottled water from one company or another, or we're buying some other product or that's one thing, but if we're setting policy for the agency, I think this board is the one that sets the policy.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I think you have to decide for yourselves whether this board of trustees wants the services of a consultant.
But I guess to me, the point is there's a difference between establishing policy and purchasing services. The contract is a purchase of service. It's up to you. When you're talking about bring us information, that is precisely what we're doing. This is day-to-day business, and my argument is you're usurping my authority as the president of the board and our ability to operate day-to-day in an attempt to upright this ship. This is in no way a violation of the purchasing code, but to Councilman Bale's point, I mean, this is 100% moving goalposts. We've already established anything under 25. I mean, we had an issue with bottled water not long ago, and I called Brad and said, hey, there's a problem with bottled water. He switched it. That contract didn't come here, and that's far more than $25,000 if you look at it exponentially across the board.
Just need to, the water was not switched. We found that there was water, we remedied it with the supplier that we had. But honestly, I just wanna.
There wasn't a change in
There was
contract.
no change in contract, and I just want to make that clear, just.
But any,
Side
let's
point.
just use the water as a,
Side point.
this body doesn't enter into the contract to purchase the water. There's no discussion about who we're gonna use, WB Mason or Spring Creek or Rock Creek or whoever. I mean, that's the whole point here.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, if there was an issue like this that I needed direction on, right, then I would go to the board. I think I've shared more with the board about A to Z, right, than probably ever have. So to me, you know, if there's an issue, if there is a problem with one vendor, then I would come to the board and say, hey, we had a problem with this person. We checked 3 other ones out, and this is who we're gonna recommend. So,
But that to me is inappropriate, because you talk about the president of the board runs the day-to-day. It's clear in the bylaws.
Mr. Chair.
Officially,
Yeah, the bottom line is that the bylaws are different from the administrative code. And yeah, all of the agreements do have to be approved by the board of trustees. It doesn't make a distinction. for
So where does
contracts
that
less than
say?
25,000.
Can you show me in writing where it says?
I'll
it
read it
must
for
be?
you.
I'd like to see that article.
And again, more importantly, where has it occurred? Because it's never occurred. So why now?
We don't know whether it's ever occurred, do we? How long have you been here?
I just asked Mr. Joseph, because he's,
Okay, but we really don't know. And, you know, even aside from the fact, even if it never occurred before, that doesn't mean it can't occur now. And like Mr. Joseph said, we're also involved in a policy issue. But first, the Board of Trustees shall review and approve all contracts, real estate or debt transactions. It does not say anything more than that. Now, the administrative code does. I could see that this board may or may not exercise that right. It doesn't have to be consistent. Some contracts less than 25,000 can easily be handled. They don't involve policy in their day-to-day positions. Apparently, the board thinks that bringing a consultant in gets the very nature of, it gets to a policy matter in testing or examining the structure of the revenue and expenses of Pleasant Ridge Manor. And it, so far, is predisposed to believe that everything out there is being handled properly. Now, mine could be changed, and that's up to the director and you to bring forth, once again, the information that would help and assist them to understand where things have gone wrong. For example, if there's this 13 or 9 million that you keep bringing up that had last year, can you point a finger as to how that happened and where the deficit is?
And that's
I went through that, and so did
100%
George Joseph. We both
You're
went through it.
literally making my case for me, Tom. So these are the requirements that we need in order to figure out where that hemorrhaging is occurring. We're not establishing policy by hiring a service.
I
When you
understand
hire an
that.
attorney, when you hire an accountant, that doesn't establish policy.
Your
It's
problem
merely
is that you
engaged.
keep saying that you've given the Board of Trustees stuff, and you haven't. You just talk. That's the problem. That's the
Giving
only
you
problem.
what? Coming in here today, and I still don't believe this board, unless that's the be all end all from the solicitor, if they have to approve all, and to Charlie's point, you don't approve the water contract, show me. Show me where you approve the water contract, who signs for that? When you've got an executive director that feels he answers directly to the board, that's not reality.
What does that have to do with the discussion today?
It has
I mean, you
everything to
keep
do with the
avoiding-
entire
you keep
discussion.
avoiding the
You're
issue,
talking
which is
policy
namely-
versus the purchase of service.
Sir, you continue to avoid the issue about providing the government, the council, and the Board of
Tom.
Trustees with information.
Tom, Brad, have you given them the information on the $13.5 million? They are the trustees.
We're not talking about that. We're
We've
talking
given
about
that
this
to you.
particular
We've
issue.
given to them.
Oh, your boss is here, let him talk.
Well, I
No.
want,
You don't talk in
He's also-
finance
he's also
meetings.
a member-
Don't
He's
talk.
a
am I
member of
member of
the
the board or
board.
not, Terry?
He didn't
Am I a
recognize
member
you,
of the board?
whether you are or not, the chair didn't recognize you.
Brad, you've given them the information. Okay, just wondered.
Okay,
Tom, just wondered.
we're not talking about the 13.9.
Well, you did say that.
We're talking about this particular issue, namely the contract for CHS. Okay,
Can you give us?
pay
the
attention.
contract?
100%.
Thank you. We have room to talk about 3, 4 topics.
Let's go to number 3. You're gonna get us. What Mr. Colbert asked.
Say that again, I said.
What did you-
I didn't just ask them for the contract, and I asked you if we were moving on to number 3.
You're gonna get us the contract
So we're gonna send the contracts
to Tom,
for 1 and 2.
right, okay. Number 3, Brad. Meeting with county executive concerning budget, second time. You already met, correct?
Well, I mean, to me, this is puzzling how this is even a matter of the board. This is day to day. If I want to meet with them 12 times to come forward with a budget, this body doesn't have the power to use
I'm in the
it.
rare place that I agree with the
I
county
agree.
executive.
All right. then
That's
this
a
issue-
puzzle why it's even.
I don't know why there was a measure.
Like, I mean, like, we need to work with them to come forward with an intelligent budget. That's the only,
I
that's
agree.
it.
So this, it's not an issue.
No issue.
Nope.
Meeting adjourned.
What's the date? Mark that on the calendar, man. You got all this agreement going on.
You're out in a week. Do you have another?
Someone get some coffee because that was exhaustive.